All right. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about a Kevin Samuels post I saw the other day where he was asking dudes, does a woman's body count matter? And in parentheses and below, he mentioned that STDs aren't an issue. And so I wanted to address that a little bit because at first I was like, who cares? Because he asked, if you're not marriage minded, what do you think? And I said, if you're not marriage minded, who cares? But then I took a deeper look at it and how I actually am in the scenario. And I was like, well, maybe I actually feel a little bit differently. So, an example, I've been on like fetish and kink apps before, and there's a lot of very promiscuous women on those apps. And, some I've hooked up with, some I haven't. But there was a woman in particular, a few of them that, like, they were so promiscuous that it kind of turned me off. I think part of what a man wants in a sexual experience is, you want to feel important. You want to feel special. And if the person, man or woman both, is extremely promiscuous, has a very high body count, there's just something about it that's just not as fun anymore for me. It's like it's like one of those innate revulsions that people have. And I have that towards them in that regard where it's like, it's just, you can go do what you want, but there's just something about it that I don't like. Now, I know men's mating strategy is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality. Absolutely true. But here's the thing, just because we can do it doesn't mean we should do it. It always reminds me of that quote from Jurassic Park where the scientist Jeff Goldberg's character, I think that's his name, where he asks, just because we can make dinosaurs doesn't mean that we should. And it's an important question. And most guys never have the opportunity to have this issue where they have an opportunity to even get unlimited access to unlimited sexuality in real life. So it's not even a question for them. They're never going to have the opportunity. But let's say you do have the opportunity. Does that mean you should? And I wanted to discuss that a little bit here today because I don't always think it's true. So a couple, one fiction example and one real life example. So Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones. He's someone that he's probably the highest value dude in Game of Thrones. He had the strongest frame. People listened to him. His silence was more important than his threats, was more powerful than his threats. So I tried to think, could I imagine Tywin just getting with all sorts of women, not caring about a woman's body count? And I don't think he would do it. So even if he was able to, would he have all the sex that he could just because he could? No, because I think they're living to a stronger and to a bigger ideal. So he's one example. Someone like Jocko Willink is a real life example where they might be able to do that. But I think they retain more of their power by not doing it. And so, like in this day and age, women, you know, I'm not saying they should all be able to do whatever they want, but it's it's not as frowned upon as it used to be for men and women both to just go out and have sex casually. I'm not saying that's wrong, but here's the thing. I think another thing that gets taken into consideration is guys, like every guy a woman sleeps with, right? She's going to get a little bit of his energy. There is a spiritual exchange going on here. It's not just a casual act. I think people in this day and age, they certainly they don't take into account how meaningful sex could be. It's not like something that should be considered as trivial as we consider it. So I think a little bit of the energy does get transferred. So when you get with a woman and she's been with a ton of dudes, I think you're getting a piece of all that energy that they've gotten along the lines. Now, some people may consider this woo-woo magical thinking, but I think there's a little truth in it. I think there's a little truth. And so when someone really respects themselves, they're not going to let everyone have them. And I think the very act of letting anyone have you kind of diminishes the value a little bit. And the people I respect the most, they seem to have this mindset too, where they're not going to let just anyone get with them. And if they did, even if they could, it doesn't say much. So whether you're a man or a woman, and this is more true for women, of course, because all a woman has to do is say yes, and they can have sex. So it's like, just because you could do that doesn't mean you should. And I would say, no, it doesn't mean you should. It means that we should probably value ourselves enough to make people earn us regardless. And if we just throw ourselves out there willy-nilly, then we kind of get what we get a little bit. And I think it does diminish us. And that's why I think, sometimes body count does matter. It does matter. And I'm not going to say people can't do what they want to do. I don't blame guys that finally get the key to the candy store and they're able to get with a lot of women. They're probably going to want to at first. But then once you've been there for a minute, you're like, wait a minute, maybe this isn't the best course of action. Maybe this isn't the best way to go. Maybe I should actually take a step back, see what else is going on. And again, I completely admit a lot of guys can never get to that spot. And so they don't get to see it that way. But I think there's something to be said for valuing ourselves enough to not do it, even though we can. And it's partly because of the energy piece, partly because I think there's something that cheapens us as a guy if we just get with anyone. And from the woman's side, it's like, if they've gotten with so many people, I mean, each person they get with can't be that special anymore. And as a man, even if I want to have a fun, casual sexual experience, I still want it to be like, still want to feel special and important. Doesn't mean I want a relationship with that person, but I want it to be it's got to be something in it for me. And if that woman has been with a ton of dudes, it's like, chances are it's not even going to be that great. And if she's been with a ton of dudes, then you may as well just go get with an escort at that point. What's the heck's the difference? There is no difference. So I guess I want to speak to the guys here in particular, that you've been able to get what you want with women. But look at the guys that I respect the most, like a Jocko's and fictional characters like Tywin. It's like, would they do it? It's like, would they just get with any woman just because they could? Or would they make people earn it? Or would they have different ideals they're striving for? I think they would have different ideals they're striving for. And I think it would diminish us a little bit if we just got with any woman we could because we could. And again, just because we can doesn't mean we should. And so, granted, I get it. Men's sexual strategy is unlimited access to unlimited sexuality, for sure. But I think there's something to be said about it here. There's something to be said about making people earn us, not just letting anyone have us. So I'll read a question here. Econ E says, pop it up here if I can. 100% agree. Living here in Thailand, I could have all the sex I want, either paid for or within a casual relationship, but it's very empty and unfulfilling. And then he says, for me, sex without love is like food without nutrition. Yeah, I can totally get that point, Econ. Thanks for commenting here. And I think, again, this is a spot I don't think a lot of guys get to, but I know exactly what you mean, where if there's not something a little deeper, like, you got to be really into it. And not to mention, I have a philosophy where it's like, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a fuck no kind of thing. And if we're just getting with anyone because we can, they're certainly not going to be all hell yes. And I think that's something to be taken into consideration too. So I wonder here, how the heck do you take these things off once they're here? I don't know. I guess we'll have to leave it there for a minute. But yeah, those are my thoughts on this topic here. I don't know. I mean, women probably not going to like it either, because women, they think, oh, I should be able to have all the sex I want and no one should be able to judge me. No one should be able to guilt or shame me. It's like, okay, but our actions will always have consequences. And the same goes to women. Just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean you should. And if we practice radical self-respect as a man or a woman, I don't think we should just let anybody have us. I think there is something where we diminish ourselves a little bit. We deplete ourselves. We get a little bit of each partner's sexual past. A little bits of those energy is coming forward. And I agree with Econ here, where he says that sex without love is like food without nutrition. I completely agree. Now, I wonder how the heck you get these things out. There we go. guess we're still learning here how to do this because I don't know how to get these silly things out. Oh well. But anyway, thanks for watching. I got a few other video topics coming up here too. I want to talk about politics and dating. I also want to talk about what's the other topic? A couple other topics I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm going to put them up soon. So let's see. If someone's still here, I wish someone could tell me, how do I remove these here once they're here? How do I remove it? Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not sure how to get rid of it, so I'm going to have to fool around with it later. But thanks for watching. Short video today, but I wanted people just to think about, hey, make people earn us. Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. And it's something I think we should all keep in mind. And it's why, in some cases, body count can matter. Body count can matter because to me, I'm just not as attracted to someone if they've shared themselves with everyone. By default, it just makes something not as important, makes it not as special. And even if I'm not marriage minded, it's just not, this is not what I'm into. So thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.